This summer is all about watercolor flowers. There are two ways you can join in the fun. Number one, if you want the basic tutorial, you're here, yay. Follow along with the video, paint your flower with me, and subscribe so you don't miss the other flowers that are coming out every week this summer. Option two, join Painting Through the Seasons, my new course that's all about painting watercolor flowers, but you'll get extra instruction on how to sketch your flowers, how to mix your watercolors, watercolor techniques each week. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want that extra guidance, scan the QR code to join me today. Now let's paint some flowers. This week we are working on zinnias and we're going to start with our sketch. So this is the final flower for the Painting Through the Seasons Summer Edition. And I don't want you to get too nervous when you look at these because there are a lot of petals, a lot more petals than any of the other flowers we've done. But you can do it, I promise. So to help you lay out your composition, I just made circles where I want my zinnias to go. I'm not worrying about petals yet. I made the circles and then the centers, and then I am gonna start to sketch in my petals around the center where I want the center of my flower to be. And then as you're doing your petals, all you're doing is kind of overlapping them as you move outward, and they are smaller in the center and they get larger towards the edges. So you can see I am just going around and around and overlapping from the petals on the layer below, almost like a brick pattern. And that will help you achieve the look of these many petaled zinnias, which are so pretty. You can practice in a sketchbook first if you're nervous about all these petals. I know it's a lot more than the other flowers we've done, but I know you can do it. This is the final challenge for the summer. That's looking pretty good. All my petals are overlapping. They're wider on the edge. Now let's try the second one. I'm going to put my center up towards the left, and then I'll start my petals going around this one. So there's going to be less petals on the top because it's like you're looking at this flower from the side. So you have less petals around the top and a bit more layers toward the bottom. And again, you're just going to start that first layer around your center and then start adding petals overlapping in that little brick pattern. And this smaller one is going to be more centered, like we're looking at it head on. So I have my center, and then I'm going to start my petal shapes again. Just continue overlapping those petals, and you will be good to go. Now it's time to add in the stems and leaves. Leaves are kind of a spade shape, I guess. So just make it wide and then go into a thin point, and that should be good. For our zinnias, I mixed up, well, I'm going to do yellow ochre, just a little touch in the center, and then I mixed up a grayish purple color. I'm trying to get like a plum kind of look, but the plum will come out as we go because it'll get darker the more layers we add. So that looks pretty gray, but there is a purple tint to it. And zinnias come in a lot of different colors. So you do not have to make a purple zinnia. You could do pink or red or yellow or orange. I just went back to purple because we had done a couple orange flowers recently. And I really like, I don't paint in purple much, which is funny, but for these flowers, I have really enjoyed these deeper purples, like dark. This is almost a gray and like a plum. I do like plum purples. So I am just painting around. So we drew in all of those petals, but you don't need to be that specific if you don't want to as you're painting the petals. So I did mix in a bit of lunar black and with my opera rose and my indigo to get this color because you can see the texture granulating already. But as you're painting the petals, you can just kind of go around. You're giving the suggestion of the petals. So remember to leave those white spaces, but you don't need to perfectly paint each petal if you don't want to. That sketch just helps you have a foundation for the flower. So for this one, it is a bit more detailed than what it's going to look like painted. But remember, because it's pencil and watercolor, there will still be a hint of that pencil underneath. And the suggestion of the zinnia will be enough for other people to know what you painted. I really like the sketch lines underneath, and that's why I don't erase them. Some people who like to paint in watercolor will do a sketch, but then they will erase it until it's very, very faint. But I actually like the look of it, and I think it's because I paint with acrylic a lot and I paint in layers on purpose. And because I like to see all of the different colors that can happen peeking out from underneath other layers and things like that. And so with watercolor, because it is so transparent, you don't get quite the same look of layers like acrylic, but I like the history. And so I leave my pencil lines on purpose to leave that little bit of history in my paintings. Okay, my first layer is dry, so I'm going to start working on the second layer, and this is where that deeper plum is going to start to come out. I mixed a darker shade of purple gray with the lunar black and the opera rose and some indigo. It is much darker than the first layer, and I love it. I just wanted that first layer base, again, because of the history, like I said with the pencil lines. It gives you that basic foundation to build on. Again, I'm just going around giving the suggestion of the petals, but not filling everything in because I want those white spaces left in between. Again, just following the layers of these petals, but not painting them perfectly. Just giving them that loose interpretation like we have been doing with the other flowers this summer. I don't know if you can see this, but in the first layer of this flower, you can see the opera rose kind of separated out from the other color. It's an interesting color because it can do that when you mix it sometimes, and it just makes an interesting effect that I don't mind. I think some people, it would probably bother them if they're trying to do like a very precise watercolor, but since I don't do precise watercolors, I really like that color with the lunar black because it does kind of separate the granules and it looks really cool. Just mixing up some more of that purple color to finish this flower, and we'll get these petals going. Remember, the petals toward the outside are usually wider and sometimes a little bit longer than the ones toward the middle. So I'm just trying to capture that as well. And now we'll add some color to the leaves. This is my Perylene green. I love that color for leaves. It's a dark pine green. And when you mix it with cadmium yellow medium, it makes a really pretty yellow green. So it's versatile too. Just adding some color to these leaves to give them a little bit of depth, and then we will let this layer dry and move on. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more layer of paint because I was really trying to get a plum color, and it's not quite as dark as I want it yet. So I'm mixing that purple color again and first I'm adding the Perylene green to my flowers, or to my leaves, to get a little bit more darkness in there. And I like that so much better already. You can play around with the with where you put the darker colors on your leaves. It's just kind of fun to experiment with to see how they look, and it doesn't have to be perfect, so that's kind of nice. So there we go. That is much closer to a darker plum color. So that's already looking better on that flower. I'm just going to add these in a little bit of places, not the whole flower, but just to give some deeper shadows. Add some deeper shadows to this large flower, and then we should be ready for it to dry, and then add final details. Looks so much better with that little bit of extra color on it. Okay, it's dry and these colors are looking so pretty. I'm just gonna add a little bit of Inktense pencil lines and some splatter to finish it off. I love those Inktense pencils because you can get that textured line that adds a little bit of extra detail to the paintings. And you can use them as watercolor if you want to. And I don't have a purple, but I have like a blue violet. So let's see how that looks with the petals. Maybe just defining a few of the shapes around the flower. It's really all it needs. It's pretty bold already with that dark purple. And remember, this doesn't have to be perfect either. You could honestly scribble over the whole thing and it would still add interesting detail to it. Now I'll add some splatter colors with the perylene green and the indigo blue. And we're good. That looks awesome. Please share with me what you made. I would love to see it. This summer is all about watercolor flowers. There are two ways you can join in the fun. Number one, if you want the basic tutorial, you're here, yay. Follow along with the video, paint your flower with me, and subscribe so you don't miss the other flowers that are coming out every week this summer. Option two, join Painting Through the Seasons, my new course that's all about painting watercolor flowers, but you'll get extra instruction on how to sketch your flowers, how to mix your watercolors, watercolor techniques each week. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want that extra guidance, scan the QR code to join me today. Now let's paint some flowers.